I stopped by a friend's house expecting to have a few glasses of red wine, walk home, and fall asleep. However, fate had something a little different in mind for me. When I arrived, another friend, A, had shown up with a small package of the seeds. A is a sort of psychoactive advisor for me, and with his recommendation, I was given 6 seeds to ingest. First, I scraped off the seed shell with a kitchen knife, and then made an attempt to get the fuzzy layer off as well. This was not particularly successful, but as I have a fairly strong stomach, I figured what the hell. I then crushed the remaining seed material and downed it with a gulp of Everclear and tonic. I noticed no effects during the first half hour, but a reported slight visuals and a feeling of mild euphoria. By this time I had gotten rather bored with the whole evening, expecting something a bit more than a slight wooziness which could just as easily have been from the Everclear. Giving up on the seeds, I had more Everclear. An hour later, A asked me how I was feeling. I said I had not really gotten anything from the seeds. He asked if I wanted to down some more, and I, being relatively tipsy, decided it was a wonderful idea. I have no idea, in retrospect, how much of the outer shell or fuzz I got off the seeds, but I do remember that I took another 5 of them. Another hour later, I started to feel a little sick to my stomach. However, I was able to ignore it, and continued to sit and talk with my friends. Another hour went by, and by this time I had a feeling of disconnectedness with everything around me. I put on some mellow jazz, and drifted off in meditation. I found after a while, that I could see, with my eyes closed, my consciousness, and it took the form of a huge, slowly spiraling double helix. This was more of a mental image than a visual though. I found I could also not open my eyes, and that seconds ticked by into eternity. After a half hour of that, the real world snapped back into being, but only orally. I still could not bring myself to open my eyes, and I found that I had pulled my hat down over them. I could focus with remarkable acuity on the music playing and the conversation being held near me. Eventually a sort of split-level consciousness evolved, which I had previously experienced via long hours of meditation. On one level, I had a sort of cosmic Zen-like awareness, and on the other, I had my ego. I could switch back and forth, finding great pleasure in watching my emotions tick by like an intricate watch from the cosmic seat. Another 2 hours went by, and by this time it was around 1 a.m. I decided, I was more or less in my own mind, by that point, that I wanted to go home and sleep. I left my friend's house, and walked through the chilly evening back to my apartment. Walking along, I started to pick up slight visuals from moonlight and shadows playing the road. Nothing particularly spectacular, however. I made it home without incident, it was only a few blocks, and curled up with my down comforter. Around 3 a.m., I woke up with extreme nausea. I made my way to the bathroom in my boxers and proceeded to pay homage to the porcelain gods for a half hour or so. During this time, I of course swore off drugs and alcohol and developed an intense hatred for A, convincing me to take these horrible, horrible seeds. After I had finished retching, I got myself a drink of water, and enjoyed the feeling of it flowing through my body. I could feel it being absorbed by my tortured stomach and flowing through my body all the way to my fingers and toes. It was one of the most magical experiences of my life. I also found that I could not convince myself to leave the bathroom, and curled up very happily on the floor next to the John. I felt as secure and happy as I had ever felt in my whole life, and fell asleep there for several hours. When I woke up, I made my way back to the down comforter again, and went to sleep for another 5 hours. When I woke up, I had slight nausea, and a little trouble focusing my eyes for another 2 hours. It being late in the morning, however, I got up to face the day. I couldn't shake the feeling of being strung out, however, until dinner later that night. I can't say for sure whether or not I would recommend the experience to others, but I found it valuable in the insights I gained during the split-level consciousness phase. Looking back, I wish I hadn't had all that Everclear. I would most emphatically urge interested users to carefully remove all the toxic coating from the seeds, and perhaps use some sort of extraction method as well.